Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line this morning.
Yes, the new senior advisor to the president-elect.
That's right, Cedric Richmond. Welcome back, brother.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
You're blessed, black, and highly favored. Congratulations on being named senior advisor to the president, man. Tell people what that position means, because they didn't even know what co-chair was.
Yeah, what does it mean?
This is the first time it's not a free position on the Biden campaign. I can tell you that. It'll be director of public engagement, which means I'll engage and interact with everybody from the civil rights community to the LGBTQ community to Black Lives Matter to the Latino community. And I'll be in the White House as a senior advisor to the president for him to bounce stuff off, to have input in decisions. And sometimes, it's that question, it's who's at the table. It's my expectation to be at the table.
Now, do you get a chance to breathe and say, yes, we finally made it, we finally did it? Because it was a long fight and the fight continued for a minute. Or do it now, you look at it and say, okay, now we got a whole lot more to do?
Well, we have a lot of work to do. This president has left chaos and confusion all across the country, especially a raging pandemic. But I don't have to tell you all, we have a lot of work to do. When you start talking about systematic racism, when you start talking about addressing poverty, when you start talking about addressing climate change, when you start talking about addressing police reform, criminal justice reform, all of those things we've talked about, now becomes the time to put up a shut up. And so we have work to do. And that's the part that is the awesome task.
I saw you said that this was the hardest decision you've had to make in your life. So what were your reservations?
Well, first of all, I haven't had a boss in 21 years, except the people who put me in office. Mm-hmm. And the other part was making sure that, it's meaningful. And Charlamagne, I will tell you that between you and DL, because both of you all on interviews asked me the same question at some point, which was, who do we hold accountable if things go awry or we don't live up to expectations? And the real question was, well, if I don't go in, then I'm cheating people of that voice of all of the people I've convinced to be a part of this movement. And then, it was just to uproot your family and move to DC. Look, I like DC. But New Orleans is the best city in the country. And so all of those factors went in. But at the end of the day, it's something I had to do.
Was it hard to leave your congressional seat?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I just got reelected. It's been 6 elections going into my 11th year, assistant to the whip, which is a leadership position in the House. And the more seniority you get, the more you can help your district. But in this broken government that we have now, with the Senate controlled by Republicans or could be controlled by Republicans, Mitch McConnell's just going to continue to block everything that's important to us, like the George Floyd Policing Act, which he's blocking, or the voting rights extension, which he's blocking. So part of it is, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so if we can't get it done legislatively, let's go in the executive branch and see what we can get done there.
Who do you think should get that seat, your old seat?
Oh, look, there's a number of qualified people who are running, and I will look at them. I'll talk to each and every one of them, and I'll probably make a recommendation to the voters. But it's important to keep someone who will put the constituents over ambition or anything like that. So, and look, everybody that's running has a track record, so voters will be able to judge them.
How are you navigating through Donald Trump not trying to help with this transition phase? What are you guys able to do to get around that?
Well, the good news is Joe Biden has been in the White House before. And so there's some institutional knowledge there, but it's a hindrance. And the sad part about it is it puts Americans at jeopardy. So if we are talking about having a cohesive rollout of the vaccines, if they're ready, it would be nice to know where they are, what's their plan, so that we could come in or adjust their plan or have our own plan ready. But you need to know those type of things, especially on national defense and security briefings. One of the glaring items in the 9/11 report was that because it wasn't a smooth transition, there were gaps and the terrorists were able to exploit those gaps. So Those are the things you don't want to happen. But there are a number of people who used to be in the Trump administration that is volunteering information. And so we're doing the best we can with what we got. But I don't think that's adequate. And we know it's not adequate for the American people. So we just, hopefully expect a temper tantrum to stop, and we can get to transition and get ready for, one, a peaceful transition, but two, a moving presidency coming up.
And I was going to ask, is there any way to forcefully do that by law? The fact that he's lost, all these states are coming and say, now that you did leave, that you did lose, is there any way to forcefully say, no, we need this information, you have to, or you go to jail? Is that possible, or no, that doesn't happen like that?
Look, there's some legal routes you can take, but I'll just tell you from my time in Congress, when Donald Trump tells his cabinet secretaries not to cooperate with committee investigations, to ignore our subpoenas, we hold them in contempt, and then nothing still happens. This is a lawless bunch that is in the White House right now. And, without Donald Trump freeing them up, I expect them to continue to be a problem. However, I do think at some point, Donald Trump is going to realize that it's bigger than him. For the first time, I think he will understand that this is not all about him. Or he'll just take his ball and go home and say, if y'all want Sleepy Joe, take Sleepy Joe. Y'all will want me back in 4 years, so I'm taking my ball and going home. Whatever it looks like, it just needs to happen so that we can get on with the business of transition and preparing to run the greatest country on earth.
Cedric, are you ready for all the smoke that's going to come your way, though? Because I posted you on my Instagram yesterday, a couple of days ago, congratulating you. And immediately people started coming with all types of, rhetoric. Some it was climate advocates and leaders who fight against toxic air pollution saying that he's terrible for the environment because he got ties to the oil and gas industry. Well, what do you say to that?
Look, I understand their concern. They also have to understand that in my congressional district, we have hundreds of thousands of jobs tied to people showing up working every day, anywhere from hotels to oil and gas to refineries. And that's just the district that I represent. But what I would just tell them is that they all applaud Don McEacham as being one of the leaders on environmental justice. Well, when we were deciding to put our climate plan together, it was me that called Don McEacham, who's a dear friend of mine, and said, hey, we want the best environmental justice plan that we can find, and we want you at the table, and I want you involved. So I know the damage that's going on out there, and I think we have assembled a team to put it together, and we had a robust climate change plan. And by the way, Joe Biden and his climate plan won the presidency. Nobody else did.
Yeah, but then that's why they were kind of upset, too, because they said that you raked in big money from the fossil fuel industry and voted to help oil and gas companies. Is that true?
No, that's not true. No, I did receive contributions from the oil and gas company. They're businesses in my district. And just because you write a check doesn't mean you own me. And at some point, the activists are going to have to understand that.
Man, you're the third politician I heard say that, and it makes perfect sense to me. Like, you can have somebody donate to your campaign, but as long as you're still serving the interests of the people and not them, what's the problem?
And look, environmentalists have also donated to my campaign. So look, I just think that it's a distraction. And when, people are out there just trying to get it done, we should come together, especially when you win an election. The fact that Democrats are fighting after we win makes absolutely no sense. We should be at the table figuring out where we go from here. And I think that's what Joe Biden wants to do. So look, Sunrise and all the environmental groups, I'm going to reach out to them and make sure that they understand that this is the Biden climate plan. This is the agenda we're going to embark on. So let's take people out of it, focus on the plan. And so I forgot who said it. It might have been King, but I heard Obama repeat it before. It's not about the man, it's about the plan. And I believe in Joe Biden's climate plan and his environmental justice plan.
Okay.
I was going to ask, how do you undo the damage done by the president now and his constituents who are saying that there's voter fraud and this whole election was rigged, and there's a lot of people who don't believe in the system. So how do you undo that damage?
Well, first by making sure we get to January 20th and watch him leave the White House and watch Joe Biden go into the White House. Because I think what we've seen over the campaign is that Joe Biden people believe him and he can restore trust in government. The election system, the Trumpsters out there that believe that somebody stole the election, they're going to believe that no matter what. I mean, they created the term alternative facts and people believe it. Unfortunately, he has a percentage of the population that will believe whatever he says. He says the news media is lying and they believe it. So it's upon us, once we take office, to make sure we restore people's faith in government, restore the faith in the election system. You have Republican governors, Republican Secretary of State, like in Georgia, saying we had a recount, Joe Biden's the winner, the election was fair, there was no fraud, and those people who are going to choose to believe the alternative facts are just going to believe that.
Now, how can we help you and Senator Harris and everybody in the White House keep those promises for black people? How can we help on the ground?
Well, I think you have to keep raising the issues. We don't get a pass because we won. And I think that that's important. And I think I said it on this show before, Charlamagne, but I'll try to give you the 30-second of it. When Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, and Martin Luther King and all those people, not Martin, but when the civil rights leaders went in to visit Lyndon Johnson after the passage of the Civil Rights Act, that told him they needed a Voting Rights Act. He said, I can't do it. They said, no, you have to do it. He said, I want to do it, but I don't have the political capital or the will of the people to do it. So help me by, when you leave this room, make me do it. Go create the environment out there, create the demand for that change that will help me usher it in. So to the extent that people are still talking about Black Lives Matter movement, whether it helped or hurt, Black Lives Matter movement is a partner in the struggle for progress in this country, and we recognize it, we applaud them. And the more that they push, the more that we're able to do. And so that's what we need from you too. I mean, we have to make sure that our people are engaged. And if that means our people are engaged enough to the point where they are criticizing our action or inaction, well, that's just a consequence of it, but it moves the needle forward. So just keep doing what you're doing, being an honest voice, plain spoken, keeping it real, however, being woke, however we describe it or however the young people say it. That's what we need from you. And so young people need the truth and the real truth. And the more it incentivizes them to be a part of the process, I think that is very, very important.
And I know you're part of the administration, but on a scale of 1 to, let's say, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, do you have faith in the Biden-Harris administration to really make transformative change for the Black community?
Absolutely. The hindrance is the fact that we did not pick up the Senate yet. And hopefully we can pick up those 2 seats in Georgia. We need the people in Georgia to just really show up. Mm-hmm. But the will is there. And, my grandmother used to say, where there's the will, there's a way. And so I believe that both of them want to be very transformative and leave a legacy bigger and better than the 64 Civil Rights Act, 65 Voting Rights Act. And part of what we want to do is to extend that Voting Rights Act, which has lapsed since the Supreme Court decision that gutted it. But by the way, I just want to also throw in there that, Vice President Biden did break a barrier already and show some courage and the ability to think out of the box and take chances by picking not only the first woman, but the first Black woman to be a vice president candidate on a major ticket. And by the way, at the end of the day, as I look at this, I don't think there's another ticket that would have beat Donald Trump as close as this election was. I think Senator Harris was a vital part of the ticket. And I think Joe's authenticity and people knowing him is what earned him the title of president-elect and soon to be 46th president of the United States.
I agree with you. I just want more than the symbolism at this point. That's all. You know what I mean?
No, look, I agree with you. I would just say, if you want to see what somebody's going to do in the future, just look at their past actions. And I think that should at least earn, a sense of goodwill. Not saying that goodwill should last in perpetuity, but I think it sets the tone for what type of administration this wants to be. And I would just tell you, as talking to President-elect Joe Biden, it is very clear that he wants to empower and do more for the African-American community than any president before him. And, there are other issues he wants to have that legacy on, but he is very set on making sure that, his Lift Every Voice agenda is actually implemented.
Well, we're going to be on his ass, so don't change your number. Okay, Cedric. All right.
Well, Cedric, we appreciate you for checking in, man.
And call. You can call Life Cube back now.
You're so petty.
It's Cedric Richmond. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning. Thank you, brother.